Live from the Valley, it's your host, former Miss USA, Nia Sanchez.
Hey, baby. Okay, welcome to the Hold My Crown podcast, where we dive into life, pageants, reality TV, parenting, and so much more. Join us for special guests from your favorite reality shows and some of my very good friends, other beauty queens. This is Hold My Crown.
Hold my crown.
Hello. Welcome back to the Hold My Crown podcast. This is a pageant episode. In today's episode, we are talking all about relationships, long distance relationships, how to manage it. And we'll be sharing some stories from when Daniel and I were dating while I was Miss Nevada USA, even before then, when I was getting ready for Miss Nevada, while I was Miss Nevada, while I was Miss USA, sharing some pro tips and tricks to managing
a lot of trips.
Relationships during this crazy and hectic time of pageantry. And let me tell you, it was not always easy. So getting into today's episode, I have a very special co-host, the best co-host for today's episode, my man, who was my boyfriend at the time, Daniel Bucco. Welcome, Boo.
What up, y'all?
Hi.
Hey, baby.
How you
Thanks
doing?
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Fantastic. Look at that belly bump.
Oh, boy. So we went from being boyfriend and girlfriend almost 15 years ago to now we are pregnant with our fourth baby.
Wow.
On the way. And who knows when you're listening to this? I might already have all four babies out if you're listening to this some time in the future. But this is going to be a great episode.
You are looking sexy, by the way.
Thank you.
I love a pregnant Nia.
Thank you. Lots of different stages in life that you've seen me through.
Very much so.
Yes. So
But I am very attractive to a pregnant Nia.
attractive, attracted.
Both.
Boom. Yes. I am attracted to you and you're attracted to me. Exactly. So there's a lot to navigate when you are a pageant competitor and you have a boyfriend. And there's a lot to navigate when you are a boyfriend of a pageant competitor.
Yes.
Or fiance or husband, because now in the USA system, you can be married. Back when we were competing, you could not be married, but you could be engaged. And I said we were competing because we were competing.
Yes, we
It
were.
was a team effort.
Yes, we will.
But we started dating in Los Angeles when I had been in Nevada. I came to LA for a bit and then I was going back to Nevada. So we started dating, and very shortly into our relationship, I told you, hey, by the way, I'm going back to Nevada and I'm competing in this thing called a pageant. And you had no experience with pageants.
None.
And how did you feel about that? Do you remember? I want to keep it
Of
100 with like what you said and where you were at when I first told you.
Yeah, I didn't know much about pageants. I didn't think they were that big of a deal. Obviously, I think I watched Miss America as a kid with my brothers, in the basement or something.
Oh boy, that sounds
Sneaking
bad.
away from my parents to watch girls in bikinis.
Uh-huh.
In my adolescence and teen years.
Awesome.
But I didn't think they were that big of a deal. And I knew that things were progressing very quickly in our relationship and knew that you were the one. And I wasn't messing around. I wanted to get married, start having babies, and I didn't want to waste any time with that. So when you were like, I'm going to move to Nevada and compete for Miss Nevada USA and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, so then you can't be married if you win for this amount of time. And then if you win that, you can't be married for this long time. I was like, no. Our situation is much more important than this situation. But once you communicated how important it was to you, how adamant you were about wanting to do it, and it was a dream of yours to try to do it one more time. I said I wanted to pray about it because it was a big decision for me, because I was like, the next girl that I'm going to, date, I'm going to marry. And I felt like you were the one. So it was like, okay. And then felt at peace about it and came to you. I said, hey, I'm fully on board. You're not doing this by yourself. We're doing this together. We're winning this thing because I am competitive as a mother effer. And let's go get it.
Yeah. And from my perspective, once you decided you were all in and you were like, we were a team, I felt like so supported. But ladies, let me tell you, no matter what a man says, if it's your dream, you got to go for it. Because if he is the one, he will be there and support you, and he will be a part of your team and be your support, which is exactly what Daniel did. But if he's not, then you should always have someone in your corner that is encouraging you in your dreams. And so I did tell Daniel, I said, this is something that I don't want to have any regrets on. I don't want to look back in 5 years and say, what if I gave it one more shot? I just want to give it my all and go for it one more time. And he did. He prayed, and it was literally over a week. I feel like it was almost 2 weeks that he was praying about it. He was seeking wise counsel. He reached out to his dad and, men that he trusted to be like, it was something that was really a conflict for him. But once he was all in, he was all in. And I'm glad he was, because we had so much fun going through all those stages together. So I moved back to Nevada. I was still back and forth between California and Nevada a lot. And I want this episode to be full of takeaways. So we're going to give some pro tips on managing a relationship that is long distance, or even just a relationship while you're fully preparing to compete. And I would say even the first big thing to boil down is your partner does need to be fully supportive of you, because it does take a lot of time, whether you're living in a different state or not. It takes a lot of time. When I was preparing for Miss USA, I was working out 2 hours a day, every day. I was meal prepping every meal for an entire week on Sundays. And I had timers set on my phone, and I would have to stop what I was doing and eat at a certain time every single day to keep my metabolism up. Plus you're doing your interview prep, plus you're doing your runway prep, plus you're, shopping for wardrobe. It is a full-time job almost getting ready for a pageant. And so you need a partner that's supportive of that. So
it's a sport.
It is a sport.
Leading up to it, it's you're training for a bodybuilding competition or a boxing match.
It literally is like a sport. The way you train as an athlete.
Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be, at the top of your game.
Now, I know I didn't have you actually write out notes to prepare for this episode, but off the top of your head, taking yourself back in time, when I was preparing for Miss Nevada, and then as Miss Nevada preparing for Miss USA, what are the ways that you feel like you stepped up and supported me? Because I feel like this episode is going to be for both the competitors and the partners of the competitors. Because as a competitor, we still need to check in with our partner. We need to not make it all about us, although a lot is about us at that time. But we need to check in and make sure that our partner feels seen, feels heard, feels loved, all of that. And so that's important on our end, because it is easy for it to become all about us. So I think the check-in on the competitor side is very important to make sure that their partner is also okay. But you did that was a season where you're like, okay, I'm supporting you in this. So what 3 to 5 things do you feel like were really big to help you support me?
I think you quickly said it, knowing that it's a season, knowing that this is your time to shine. I'm in the entertainment industry as well. I was doing movies and television shows during that time, but knowing that this was your kind of last shot, and saying this isn't going to be forever, but I'm going to go above and beyond to try to make you feel as supported as I could and loved as much as I could, and to be there in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
And just knowing that going into this, that's what I needed to do.
Yeah, I like that first point. If you really zoom out, and if this is your partner, you're like, I could see myself marrying this person. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to know this is a season of life. It's not forever. And so I'm going to go all in that support is important, because if you're in it and you get consumed by it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much, it feels like too much to zoom out and think, oh, this is just a season.
Yeah.
That can really help for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good first point.
And then just, again, with the support, feeling like, hey, I'm in this with you, keeping everything positive, because in any type of situation like this, it can be highly stressful, and it's easy, especially for women. Guys deal with this too, but for women, the comparisons and the body image and all that stuff that goes into it, making sure that I let you know that you are amazing and beautiful and more than able to do what you need to do to win this,
Mm-hmm.
or to at least, leave it all out there and say, at the end of this, I left it all out on the field.
Yeah.
It's another sports reference, but
It is like a sport, though.
That I have no regrets.
Yes.
That I did everything I could. So I wanted to make sure that I was a part of that, and to be in your corner as much as possible.
Yeah, you did that really well. One thing that I feel like you were really good at was communication. And if you have a busy schedule as a competitor, communication is key on both ends.
Yeah.
So you have to be communicating with your partner and vice versa. And in relationships in general, it always, before meeting Daniel, I feel like I would, not even men that were talking to me, just like hearing about my friends' relationships and all of that. I remember a lot of things you hear is the guy, often, sometimes the girl, being like, oh, I hate feeling like I have to check in. But when you're in a loving relationship and you care about each other, you want to communicate. That's just what a relationship is. So keeping that communication open and flowing, life gets busy, especially in a season of competition. So knowing, okay, I'm going to just send a quick text because I don't have time to jump on a phone call, but at least I'm communicating with my partner. That goes both ways.
Yeah.
And I think also communication on the supporting partners end of, like you said, with like the headspace of encouragement. I think that's something that you can literally write down to, like, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to look up inspirational quotes and like send one every few days, like even an image, go on Pinterest and find it. Those little things go so far for your pageant competitor, like girlfriend, fiance, wife. Those little moments of encouragement, something that Daniel did. I don't even know if you remember that you did this, probably now that I'm bringing it up, but I was at Miss Universe, and it's like, pull it together, don't get emotional, pregnancy hormones. I was at Miss Universe, and I would be unpacking my wardrobe or pulling out a different purse or something like that, and I would find sweet, encouraging notes from you that Daniel had stuffed into my suitcase in different areas. He'd put it in the pockets of a pair of jeans that I had planned to wear one day that was like a week into my competition, into one of my purse accessories, into like the front pocket. And those sweet little moments of encouragement that he went out of his way to do made a huge difference to me. So those little moments can make the biggest difference when you are supporting your partner in a pageant competition. So I love all the little things that you can do that really add up to support your partner for sure.
Yeah. They cost nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't cost a penny.
Exactly.
Just a little bit of a time and intention.
Yeah.
And
but it uplifts the headspace.
100%.
And some of them were just little love notes from Daniel. Some were Bible verses. Some were encouraging quotes.
Yeah.
So it was a variety of things, and something that you did along with other people in like my like support group was, I think it was actually your family. They all got a journal, and I have it somewhere. And it was around Christmas time because I competed in January for Miss Universe. They got a journal, and each of them wrote on an individual page an encouraging message to me. Yeah. So if I was ever having those moments of comparison or those moments where I was feeling down or discouraged, I could go back to this journal, and it was full of love notes and encouragement from people that loved me and lifted me up. So those little things make such a big difference.
100%.
We kind of touch on this a little bit, but I think it's also really important to support and encourage each other's dreams. So just like you are supporting my dream of pageantry, I think even while you're in your season of competition, checking in with your partner. I said check in, but also check in with your partner and what their dreams are and what they are pursuing, and finding ways to support each other. I think if you can create some balance in the support, that makes a big difference and goes a long way.
Big time.
Now,
and I've talked about this. We've talked about this, I think, before, but, if I'm doing a movie or if I'm, a show or whatever it is, and I'm in the quote unquote spotlight in our relationship, whatever, it's my job to make sure, even though, yes, you're encouraging me, you're doing all those types of things, but it's my job to make sure that you still feel like you're the queen.
Like secure in the relationship.
You're secure. The trust is there.
Yeah.
That you're still number one no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think on the other end, it's the same. You're going through, obviously, this very stressful, time-consuming time in your life. But if you aren't intentional about making sure your significant other is feeling loved, is feeling cared for, their love tank is full, you're still speaking their love languages, that's a game changer.
It is.
In a relationship. if you want it to go the distance and sustain.
That is a huge point, and I want to touch on that just a little bit more right after the break. So we're going to talk about how to prevent and kind of overcome any insecurities or jealousy, especially in a pageant relationship and a competition season. So let's talk about that right after this break. Welcome back from the break. We are talking about all things relationships, long distance relationships while competing in a pageant. And you hit a really great subject that I just want to dive a little bit more into before we move on to the next one, is insecurities and jealousy. And I think everything you said right before the break about knowing for each individual person, but especially the one that's competing, is how to kind of head off any insecurities or jealousy, like what to do to prevent that and make your partner feel secure in the relationship.
Right.
So what you said is knowing that if you're the person in the spotlight, you're the person that has all the attention on you.
Right.
Yes, your partner is supporting you, but it's also your responsibility to make sure they feel secure in the relationship. And you mentioned filling their love tank. So I think that's really important. We've talked about the 5 love languages before on this podcast and on season 1 of The Valley as well. Like it's just something that we live by. So knowing what your partner's love languages are I think that's a really great way to fill their love tank and make them feel loved and make them feel secure in the relationship. So if it's words of affirmation, speak those words of affirmation. If it's physical touch, make sure you are making time for that, even though you're busy getting ready for a competition. It might be hard, but be intentional. Acts of service, whatever it is. I think if you're intentionally filling your partner's love tank, it helps like keep away those feelings of insecurity or jealousy. And then specifically, because I remember being at events and stuff as Miss USA, already having a game plan of how you're going to handle yourself in those situations where people are going to be coming up to you and flirting with you or asking for your number, and just like already thinking about in advance, like, is it you're going to be in those situations sometimes. So for me, I thank goodness was engaged most of my Miss USA year. I wonder if that was strategic on your end, but I always wore my ring everywhere I went. So it was easy to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I'm engaged or whatever. Like, thank you, but no, thank you. But it's having that headspace, because even before I was engaged, it was just the headspace of, obviously I'm not interested. Obviously I'm in a secure, loving relationship. So I'm not going to entertain those conversations. I'm not going to, especially as women, I think we sometimes don't want to be impolite, and we think that it's impolite to like brush someone off, especially if it's at an event and there's possible networking, but it's just being polite and clear with if someone's specifically asking you for your phone number or trying to ask you out. It's just a clear conversation of, oh, I'm not interested. Thank you so much. So like, you can be polite, but say no. Like it's just not that big of a deal. And I think sometimes as women, we don't want to be rude, but you can be polite and clear that you're in a happy relationship and you're not interested. So knowing that you will have those boundaries ahead of time before you put yourself in those situations that you're bound to be in, and not having any issues with declining or, being super clear about it. Because I feel like sometimes, especially when you're younger, I imagine like being in your early 20s and just maybe not even having the confidence of like what to say or how to say it, just knowing that it is completely fine to say thank you, but no thank you. And that's enough. Like no is a full sentence. You don't need to make excuses or be kind of involved in the conversation to be not rude. You can say no, and that's okay. And no one has the right to push it anymore, no matter who they are. Because also for young women, I feel like if it's someone that seems like they are a person like that is influential, or like, someone, those kind of things.
And not just influential. We're in the entertainment industry, and the same thing is in pageantry as well, where you are meeting people that you have had crushes on for years.
Yeah,
and
or
now
they seem like a celebrity and it's
they're
your
part
first
of
time
your
meeting
life.
them.
Or now all of a sudden they're hitting on you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I used to dream about this when I was, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And now this actually is possible.
Right.
So if you're in a relationship, now obviously you're older, this stuff is happening.
Right.
A lot of people, if they don't have that strong either character or communication in their relationship, they're lacking certain things in the relationship. You can easily get caught up in that, and you see it over and over and over again. So I think for us, we were just so strong going in with, I think, number one was our faith and having God be the center of that. And number two, knowing who we were in our relationship and our character and our integrity and our communication on everything was always just so open, and it was always so constant. So it goes both ways. You know what I mean? It has to go both ways, and you have to be intentional about, making your significant other feel that way.
Yeah.
That they're protected.
I agree with everything you said, and I kind of like the recap of your faith, your filling each other's love tanks, making sure that each other feels very loved, and tons of communication. And having that will continue to keep your relationship solid and keep you solid going into any events or situations like that. Because it's true. Everything you said is true. Yeah. So just knowing who you are, what your choices are in advance, and where you stand in your relationship, and being intentional about keeping your relationship solid, all of that is just going to set you up for success. One little cutesy thing that I feel like we did, going back to the long distance points of the conversation, is, again, communication was everything. We were talking all the time. When first it was me in Nevada and Daniel in LA, but we could more easily travel back and forth. It was cheap to fly back and forth or drive. When I was in New York, we never spent more than 4 or 5 weeks apart, but still, that's a long time when you want to be with your partner all the time.
Right.
So we would FaceTime any free moment we had. We would literally, I can't believe we did this, but you do what you got to do when you miss your partner. We would take naps together on FaceTime.
Yeah.
We spent so much time together. So just communication is everything.
Yeah.
Knowing that if this is your person, it's not checking in. You're talking and communicating with your person.
Yeah.
Keeping each other's love tanks full. All those things are really important, and knowing that it's a season. So, just kind of recapping as we're wrapping up, knowing that it's a season of life. And so The supportive partner is all in this season and doing everything they can to support, and whatever that looks like. But also the person that's competing is checking in with their partner, making sure their love tank is full, and making sure and knowing that it's their job to make their partner also feel secure in the relationship.
Yeah.
Any other big takeaways before we wrap up?
No, I mean, those were the biggest things. Be intentional. Communication is key. Everything.
I got some pageant things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm from Minnesota. Just specific pageant things. So when I coach my pageant girls, I tell them know who your people are and call on them as your resources. There's a lot to do, especially when it is, the judges are released and you want to know about each judge, and you have to keep up to date on what's going on politically in the U.S. And there's just so much to kind of be in, knowing about. So for the partner, if you can take something off of their plate, it's very helpful. So again, going back to more pageant specifically. So, the partner or the parents or whomever is part of your support system, they can look up and give you a little paragraph bio on the judges, so you don't have to do your research. They can do the research for you. They can, help quiz you in Q&A, because if you're a serious competitor, hopefully you have a coach, but you need more than just those few hours a week of coaching.
I was constantly grilling you.
Constantly grilling me on questions.
Yep.
Your family too.
Yep.
I remember Daniel's laughing because some of the crazy questions Grandpa came up with. Grandpa, who's in his mid-90s, but he was you need to be ready for anything. Yeah, what if they ask you about?
He's 102 right now.
He is, but he would ask me questions where I was Grandpa, I don't think they're going to ask that at Miss USA. He's be ready for anything. You got to be on your toes. So your partner, their family, your friends, have people help you with questions, help you with walking, help you with wardrobe, styling, everything. Know that your partner in this season can be so much of a support in a variety of ways. Do your Bible studies together if that's what you're into. Do your, read a book together that's a motivational book that will help
Yeah.
you for the pageant. And then you have someone to check in with. So your partner can support you in so many ways, but then don't forget to check in with your partner as well and make sure that they feel secure in the relationship.
100%.
All right, guys, I hope this was a very helpful pageant episode. We love you. We thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Make sure you subscribe. You are the first to know when every new episode is out, and we will see you here again next week.
Peace, guys.
Bye. Yay Media Group.